Have you ever stopped to think that what people often call love might actually just be a fear of being alone? What if many relationships aren't really about connecting deeply with someone, but about running away from the silence inside ourselves? The Stoics warned us that the chains we choose for ourselves are the hardest to break, and often those chains look beautiful. They come disguised as romance, comfort, or stability, yet deep down something doesn't feel right. Most people don't enter relationships because they feel strong and whole. They enter them because they're afraid of facing themselves. They'd rather deal with someone else's chaos than sit quietly with their own thoughts. That's why so many end up losing pieces of themselves just to keep the other person around. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Don't fear death, fear never starting to live." And this is exactly what happens when you can't tolerate being single. You stop truly living. This episode isn't about criticizing love or insisting that you should stay alone forever. It's about reclaiming your personal power. It's about learning to stand solid on your own, so that if and when you choose to love, it's because you want to, not because you need to. Love only has value when it comes from freedom, not from fear. Before we dive into the 10 reasons why staying single might be one of the best decisions you can make for yourself, hit that subscribe button. What we're building here isn't just theory, it's a guide to giving you the clarity, strength, and freedom to live life on your terms. First, you avoid the wrong attachments. Choosing to stay single grants you one of life's greatest protections. It shields you from the wrong people. Consider this: how many lives have been completely altered or even ruined because someone became entangled with the wrong partner? You don't need a bad person to derail you. Sometimes it only takes the wrong one. A relationship with the wrong person doesn't just steal your time. It can rob you of years of growth, drain your energy, and even blur your sense of identity. When you're desperate for love, you tend to overlook red flags. You don't pause to ask, is this person actually right for me? Do they respect my boundaries? Do they bring peace into my life or just drama? Instead, you rush in, hoping they'll fill the void of loneliness you're terrified to face. That's when problems start. You make excuses for their behavior, you ignore warning signs, and slowly, piece by piece, you lose yourself. Staying single protects you from that spiral. The Stoics taught that freedom is the highest good, freedom from being controlled by desires, freedom from the chains of other people's opinions. When you remain single, you have that freedom. You're not bound by someone else's moods, approval, or toxic patterns. You move through life without constantly cleaning up after someone else's mess. Let's be honest. How many people settle for partners who drain them, stress them out, or hold them back simply because they fear being alone? Being single allows you to say no. No to manipulation, no to anyone who doesn't value you, no to anyone who seeks to control your identity. You don't have to explain why you don't respond immediately, why you don't go out, or why your focus is on yourself. You belong to yourself, and that alone is a power far too many surrender just to avoid solitude. Here's the real advantage: when you aren't desperate, you become harder to deceive. You start seeing people clearly. Need no longer clouds your vision. You recognize who is genuine and who is fake. You notice who respects you and who simply wants to use you. Singleness sharpens your discernment. It trains you to filter out wrong attachments before they can ever wound you. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." I would add this: the happiness of your life also depends on the quality of the people you allow into it. When you remain single until you're strong, clear, and patient enough to make wise choices, you avoid a great deal of unnecessary suffering. So, don't see being single as a punishment. See it as a shield that protects your time, your energy, and your soul from people who don't deserve them. The truth is, it's far better to be alone than to be attached to the wrong person. Every single day you remain single, you're not missing out. In fact, you're saving yourself from years of potential damage, time you may never get back. That's the first gift of staying single. You keep your life free from the wrong attachments. You guard your heart, your mind, and your path. And when the right person finally comes along, you'll be prepared, not desperate. Second, you gain complete freedom over your time. One of the most valuable rewards of being single is this: your hours, your days, your life, entirely yours. Think about it. When you're stuck in the wrong relationship, your time gets negotiated away. Suddenly your schedule isn't really yours. Where you go, what you do, who you spend your time with, it all has to pass through someone else's filter. And if that person doesn't value your time as much as you do, you end up exhausted, frustrated, and constantly behind on the things that truly matter to you. But when you're single, you reclaim your time. You can spend your mornings exactly how you want. You can stay up late chasing a passion or an idea without someone complaining that you're not in bed yet. You can take spontaneous trips, dive into a hobby, or simply sit in silence and breathe, all without asking anyone's permission. That's real freedom, the kind that most people don't even realize they've traded for companionship. The Stoics understood this deeply. They saw time as our most precious asset, far more valuable than money, status, or possessions. Seneca put it plainly: it's not that we have too little time, but that we waste so much of it. And one of the biggest ways people waste their lives is by giving their time away to relationships that drain rather than nourish them. Hours spent in arguments, fake peace, or trying to fix someone else's chaos. Those are hours you can never reclaim. When you remain single, you begin to see the true power of your time. You notice just how much you can accomplish when you don't have to constantly check in, explain yourself, or compromise on every little decision. You can pour that time into yourself, your health, your mind, your career, your growth, and your vision. And here's the thing: every hour you invest in yourself compounds. It grows exponentially. A single year of focused self-development can put you 10 years ahead of someone who continues wasting time on relationships that hold them back. Freedom over your time also means you no longer live by someone else's moods. You don't cancel plans because someone is upset. You don't waste your weekends cleaning up arguments or soothing conflicts. Your time belongs entirely to you, and because of that, your energy remains cleaner, sharper, and more focused. You start to realize how much more life opens up when you aren't constantly negotiating with another person about how to spend your minutes. Let's be honest, time is the one resource you can never get back. You can lose money and earn it again. You can miss opportunities and find new ones. But once a day is gone, it's gone forever. So ask yourself, how much of your time have you already given to people who didn't deserve it? How many hours have you wasted arguing, apologizing for things you didn't even do, or waiting for someone to finally appreciate you? Staying single gives you the chance to reclaim that time, to use it in ways that actually strengthen you, build you up, and move you forward in life. And here's the paradox. When you finally learn to guard your time fiercely as a single person, you naturally become less likely to waste it when someone truly worthy enters your life. You develop higher standards. You begin to recognize quickly who genuinely respects your time and who doesn't. And you won't hesitate to walk away from anyone who tries to take it for granted. So never see your season of being single as empty. See it for what it really is, the most valuable season of your life. Right now, your time belongs entirely to you, and how you choose to spend it will shape the rest of your future. Third, you cultivate self-mastery without distractions. When you're single, something extraordinary happens. You gain the space to truly master yourself. There's no constant drama, no emotional roller coasters, no distractions pulling you away from your goals. It's just you, your thoughts, and the discipline needed to shape the person you aspire to become. Here's the truth. Relationships can be beautiful, but they can also be noisy. They fill your mind with endless check-ins, worries about what the other person thinks, and compromises that slowly erode your focus. You begin losing sight of your own priorities because you're constantly managing someone else's emotions. And while this might feel like love, more often than not, it leaves you weaker rather than stronger. When you stay single, you remove that noise entirely. You no longer wake up to arguments or go to bed carrying stress that isn't even yours. You gain the mental and emotional space to ask yourself, what do I really want? Who do I want to become? And crucially, you have the time and energy to take meaningful action toward those answers. That is self-mastery. The Stoics emphasized this repeatedly. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself, and you cannot truly master yourself if you are constantly distracted by someone else's chaos." Self-mastery is about creating habits that make you unshakable. It's about waking up early because you want to, training your body, sharpening your mind, learning new skills, and building routines that give you strength and resilience. When you're single, there are no excuses. No one is holding you back. No one is pulling you off course. Think about how many people waste years of their lives trying to fix toxic relationships. They spend their nights in arguments instead of reading, working out, or creating something meaningful. They waste their mornings recovering from fights instead of starting their day with clarity and purpose. They give their best energy to keeping someone else happy instead of investing it in their own growth. That is not mastery, that is slavery. But when you're single, every ounce of your energy can go into building yourself. You can choose to hit the gym, to write, to study, to hustle, to meditate, to learn, to grow. And the most remarkable part? The results start to compound quickly. Discipline builds momentum. Small victories grow into confidence, and that confidence turns you into someone unstoppable. Self-mastery is not only about skill or discipline, it's also about emotional strength. When you're single, you are forced to confront yourself fully without relying on someone else to soothe, distract, or validate you. You face your fears, your insecurities, and your weaknesses head-on. And in doing so, you grow, stronger than you ever could while entangled in the chaos of someone else's life. There's no partner to blame when you stumble. No one is there to distract you when you feel low. You sit with your emotions, your fears, your doubts, and by confronting them head-on, you grow stronger. You learn how to calm yourself down, how to motivate yourself, how to recover and bounce back. That's resilience, a skill too many people never develop because they're always leaning on someone else for support. Here's the hard truth. If you can't master yourself when you're alone, you'll never truly master yourself in a relationship. Relationships test you. They push your buttons. They challenge your patience. If your inner foundation isn't steady, you'll crack under pressure. But when you've already built strength in solitude, you carry that inner power with you wherever you go. So don't view singleness as a void or a gap in your life. See it as a training ground, a boot camp for your soul, a place to sharpen your discipline, master your emotions, and become the kind of person who doesn't just survive life, but conquers it. That's the third truth. Staying single gives you the chance to master yourself without distractions. And once you've developed that kind of inner strength, nothing and no one can ever take it from you. Fourth, staying single protects your energy from toxic people. One of the biggest advantages of being single is that you keep your energy safe. Let's be real. Nothing drains you faster than being entangled with the wrong person. Toxic individuals don't just waste your time, they poison your peace. They make you doubt yourself. They pull you into endless conflicts. They guilt you for wanting freedom. And no matter what you do, you're left feeling like it's never enough. That's not love. That's a slow erosion of your spirit. When you're single, you don't have to play those exhausting games. You don't have to tiptoe around someone's mood swings. You don't have to check your phone constantly out of fear of upsetting them. You don't have to carry the weight of someone else's chaos on your shoulders. Your energy, your most valuable resource, remains clean, focused, and entirely yours. The Stoics long ago warned us about this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. But how can you think clearly when your environment is filled with negativity, manipulation, and constant drama?" The truth is, your surroundings shape your mind. And no, Element shapes your surroundings more than the people you allow close to you. Toxic individuals aren't always obvious villains. Sometimes they appear as love, comfort, or companionship, but deep down you feel it. They drain more than they give. They demand your attention without supporting your growth. They seek control, not genuine connection. And if you stay, their insecurities will slowly consume your energy. But staying single flips that script entirely. It gives you a shield. Instead of constantly fighting off negativity, you keep your circle clear. You choose peace over chaos. You choose growth over drama. You protect your energy and your mind. And in doing so, you create the space to become the strongest, most focused version of yourself. You choose to protect your energy like it's pure gold, because that's exactly what it is. Once your energy is drained, your focus, your dreams, your motivation, and even your happiness begin to fade. Imagine the power of waking up without dread. No arguments waiting for you in the morning. No passive-aggressive messages. No emotional roller coaster sapping your spirit before your day even starts. Just quiet, just freedom, just the space to decide how you want to feel and where you want to put your energy. That is priceless. Here's the secret. Protecting your energy isn't just about avoiding toxic people. It's also about building the strength to say no, to cut ties when someone shows their true colors, to walk away without guilt or hesitation. Staying single teaches you this skill, because once you've lived in peace, you naturally become less willing to tolerate chaos. Once you've experienced what it feels like to have clear, unpolluted energy, you refuse to let anyone come in and contaminate it. So don't think of being single as being alone. Think of it as being a warrior guarding their flame. You aren't allowing just anyone to trample through your life with muddy shoes. You're protecting the most important thing you have, your inner fire. That is the fourth truth. Staying single keeps toxic people out of your life. It gives you the clarity, calm, and pure energy you need to build the life you truly want. And the longer you guard that energy, the stronger, sharper, and more unstoppable you become. Fifth, you learn to love your own company. At first, being single can feel uncomfortable. The silence feels heavy, almost oppressive. You sit alone in your room, and suddenly your thoughts seem louder than ever. Most people run from that silence. They grab their phones, seek attention, or jump into the first available relationship just to avoid it. But here's the truth. If you can't enjoy your own company, no one else will ever fill that gap for you. Learning to love yourself is one of the most powerful skills you can ever develop. When you stay single, you're forced to face yourself, your fears, your doubts, your flaws, but also your strengths, your dreams, your values. And the more time you spend with yourself, the more you start to realize, I actually like this person I'm becoming. That's when the fear of being alone begins to fade and genuine confidence starts to grow. Carl Jung once said, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you." In other words, being surrounded by people doesn't fix loneliness. If you don't understand yourself, if you can't connect with who you really are, you'll always feel alone, even in a crowded room. But when you learn to enjoy your own company, you're never truly lonely again. Think about it. When you enjoy being with yourself, life becomes lighter. A walk feels peaceful instead of dull. Eating alone feels like freedom instead of punishment. Quiet evenings become an opportunity to read, create, dream, and recharge. Instead of being something you need to escape, solitude becomes a source of power. You stop waiting for someone to complete your life because you realize you were already whole all along. And here's the most beautiful part. Once you truly love your own company, you stop chasing people just to fill the silence. You stop begging for attention. You stop settling for love that's only half-hearted. You stop bending and reshaping yourself just to keep someone close. Because why would you? You already enjoy your own company. From that point on, any relationship becomes a bonus, not a necessity. You don't need anyone else to make you feel valuable. You already carry that value within yourself. The Stoics taught that true happiness doesn't come from external things, it comes from within. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself." And that's exactly what you discover when you embrace your own company. You realize happiness isn't about having someone sitting across the table. It's about knowing that you're enough, even in silence. Here's the paradox. The more you love being with yourself, the stronger and healthier your future relationships become. Why? Because you are no longer desperate. You are no longer afraid to walk away. You select people from a place of strength, not fear, and that changes everything. Your connections become deeper, more genuine, more real. So don't fear solitude, don't rush to escape it. Sit with it, learn from it, grow inside it, because when you can look in the mirror and truly enjoy the person staring back, you unlock a kind of freedom that no relationship can ever give you. That is the fifth truth. Staying single teaches you to love your own company. And once you master that, you'll never beg for love again. You simply share the love you already hold inside. Sixth, you avoid the trap of seeking validation. One of the biggest pitfalls in relationships is this: people begin living for approval. They shape their words, choices, even personalities around what the other person thinks, and it happens so gradually that you hardly notice it. You catch yourself asking, will they like this? Will they still love me if I do that? Before long, you're no longer living your life. You're performing it for someone else. When you're single, you break free from that trap. You don't wake up worrying whether your partner thinks you're enough. You don't have to bend your dreams, opinions, clothes, or lifestyle to keep someone else comfortable. You get to be unapologetically, fully yourself. And that is freedom few ever experience, because most people are too busy trying to prove themselves. Validation is addictive. Once you start chasing it, you keep needing more. A compliment feels good, but soon you crave another. Approval becomes a drug. And the more you rely on others to feel worthy, the less you remember your own value. That's why so many people remain in toxic relationships. They'd rather be validated by the wrong person than risk standing alone. The Stoics offered a better way. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." In other words, stop depending on the opinions of others. If your peace depends on their judgment, you will never be free. Singleness teaches you this discipline. It shows you how to validate yourself, how to stand firm without applause, and how to recognize your worth without anyone else confirming it. Think about how powerful that is. When you stop seeking validation, you start living boldly. You chase goals that excite you, not ones designed to impress others. You speak the truth, even when it's unpopular. You wear what feels right, not what will earn the most approval. Your life becomes authentically yours, pure, real, and untouchable. Here's the irony: the moment you stop chasing validation, you become more magnetic. People are drawn to confidence, to independence. They respect someone who doesn't need approval. But here's the key difference: you don't rely on it anymore. Validation becomes a bonus, not your oxygen. Staying single gives you the space to practice this, to say, "I'm enough," even here, even now, without applause. It's not always easy. Some days you'll feel the urge to post, just to see who reacts. Some nights you'll miss hearing "I love you." But when you push through, when you learn to give yourself that love first, you reach a level of inner strength most people never touch. So let's be clear: seeking validation is a trap that steals your freedom. Staying single helps you escape it. It teaches you that your worth isn't in someone else's hands, it's already in yours. And once you truly believe that, you stop performing, stop begging, stop shrinking. You start living. That is the sixth truth. Staying single keeps you free from the endless hunger for approval. Once you stop chasing validation, you finally become the person you were always meant to be. Seventh, you grow stronger in solitude. There's something about being alone that scares most people. They hear the word solitude and immediately think of loneliness, emptiness, or weakness. But the truth is, solitude isn't weakness, it's training. It's a gym for your soul. It's where you develop strength that no relationship can give you. When you're single, solitude is inevitable. At first it feels heavy. The silence is deafening. You notice your doubts, your fears, your insecurities. And that's exactly why so many people rush into relationships. They're running from themselves. But here's the truth. If you can't sit with yourself, you'll never be strong enough to truly stand with someone else. The Stoics understood this deeply. They saw solitude as the arena where you confront your true self. Marcus Aurelius said, "Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul." In solitude, there's no one to distract you, no one to blame, no one to rescue you. It's just you. And while that can feel uncomfortable at first, it's precisely this process that makes you stronger. Think of it this way. Solitude is pressure, and pressure builds resilience. You learn how to calm your own mind when anxiety strikes. You learn how to lift yourself up on hard days instead of waiting for someone else to do it. You learn to enjoy life without relying on constant validation or company. That is real strength, and it only comes from being tested in silence. When you grow stronger in solitude, you stop fearing loss. You realize you've survived nights alone. You've survived mornings without texts. You've survived holidays without someone sitting across from you. And once you've experienced that and found peace anyway, you become unshakable. No breakup, no rejection, no absence can break you, because you've already proven you can stand firmly on your own. Here's the paradox. Solitude, the very thing most people fear, is actually what makes you most attractive. Why? Because independence is magnetic. People can feel when you don't need them to survive. They can sense the strength that comes from someone who's been forged in solitude. That gives your presence a rare power. You're no longer desperate. You're grounded. Solitude also sharpens your mind. Without constant noise and distraction, your thoughts become clearer. You start hearing your own ideas again. You begin to distinguish which dreams are truly yours and which ones you've carried just because others expected them. Solitude gives you focus, and focus builds power. Of course, solitude isn't always easy. There will be nights when it feels heavy, when you wish someone was there just to tell you it's okay, but those are exactly the nights when you grow the most. Each time you sit with that feeling instead of running from it, you gain strength. You realize you don't need saving. You are fully capable of saving yourself. That is the true power of solitude. Solitude doesn't make you cold. It doesn't make you harsh. It makes you steady. It makes you calm. It makes you powerful in a way that doesn't crack when life gets difficult. So don't run from solitude. Don't avoid it. Embrace it fully. Train in it, because that's where your true power is born. That is the seventh truth. Staying single gives you the gift of solitude. And in solitude, you grow stronger than you ever imagined possible. Eighth, you gain the freedom to focus on your mission rather than constantly trying to please others. One of the biggest traps people fall into in the wrong relationship is this. They start living to satisfy someone else. They adjust their schedules, change their habits, even alter their goals just to keep another person comfortable. And over time, they forget why they're here. They lose sight of their purpose, their mission, their reason for being. But when you're single, that's not a problem. You don't have to justify why you're working late, why you're grinding on weekends, or why you choose to spend your evenings studying, training, or building your future instead of binge-watching shows. You don't have to water down your ambition to make someone else feel secure. You are free to pour everything you have into your mission. The Stoics believed that each person is here for a reason, a purpose, a path that is uniquely their own. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A man's true delight is to do the things he was made for." But here's the hard truth. Most people never experience that delight because they are too busy managing someone else's emotions. They spend more energy maintaining peace than building their purpose. And at the end of their lives, they wonder why they feel unfulfilled. Staying single shields you from that outcome. It gives you the space to devote yourself fully to your mission, without apologies or compromises. Want to start a business? You can. Want to travel for work? There's no one telling you you're too obsessed, too intense, or working too hard. You define your life by what truly matters to you, not by how comfortable someone else feels. And here's the thing about missions: they demand obsession, they demand sacrifice, they require late nights, early mornings, and sometimes saying no to comfort in order to say yes to greatness. That's nearly impossible if your energy is constantly drained by trying to make someone else feel okay. When you're single, all that energy stays yours. You can invest it in building your future instead of wasting it on arguments, compromises, or guilt trips. Think about the most successful people you admire: artists, athletes, leaders, innovators, creators. Many of them spent long seasons of their lives single. Why? Because they understood that their mission had to come first. They weren't distracted by the need to please anyone else. They poured their best years, their best energy, into creating something that would outlast them. That's not selfish, it's intentional. That is purpose. And here's the paradox: the more you focus deeply on your mission, the more magnetic you become. People are drawn to someone with drive, to someone with direction. But the most important respect you earn is your own. You look in the mirror and see someone building something meaningful, someone who isn't constantly bending to satisfy others. So don't fear being single, embrace it. This is your season to focus, to build, to chase the mission that ignites your soul without distraction. When you live for your purpose instead of people-pleasing, you stop wasting your life and start owning it. That is the eighth truth. Staying single allows you to dedicate yourself fully to your mission, not to keeping others happy. And when you commit to that mission, it will reward you with a fulfillment no shallow approval ever could. Ninth, you develop emotional independence. One of the most powerful aspects of staying single is this: you learn how to stand on your own emotionally. Most people don't even realize how much they depend on others until they're left alone. They rely on someone else to make them feel loved, to soothe their anxieties, to lift them up, or even just to remind them that they matter. But when your emotions are constantly tied to someone else, you are never truly free. When you're single, that safety net disappears, and that is exactly what makes it so valuable. It forces you to handle your own emotions. You learn to comfort yourself when you're stressed, to motivate yourself when you're exhausted, to pick yourself up when life knocks you down. That is emotional independence. Once you develop it, no one can take it away. At first it can be difficult. The quiet nights feel heavier. Bad days feel harsher. You'll have the urge to reach for someone just to make it easier, but when you face those feelings, instead of running from them, something shifts. You realize that you can handle it on your own. You don't need someone to rescue you. You don't need someone else to define who you are. You are fully capable of carrying yourself through the storm. And the moment you feel that strength for the first time, it leaves an impression you'll never forget. The Stoics emphasized this kind of self-reliance. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Emotional independence is exactly that, mastering yourself. It's not allowing your mood to swing with someone else's mood. It's not letting your peace depend on whether someone texts you back. It's not letting your happiness collapse simply because someone walked away. Consider how most people live. One argument ruins their whole week. One breakup shatters their self-worth. One cold message leaves them anxious for days. That is not freedom. That is emotional slavery, and it usually happens because they never learn to stand strong on their own. But when you are single, you finally get the chance to build that strength, to develop that inner resilience, and to become unshakable no matter what life throws at you. You learn how to validate yourself without needing someone else's compliments. You learn how to enjoy your day without waiting for approval or recognition from another person. You discover how to create joy from simple things: music, exercise, reading, or even just sitting in silence. Your happiness begins to emerge from within, not from external sources. And here's the beauty of emotional independence. It doesn't make you cold. It doesn't make you selfish. It makes you stable. It makes you steady. It transforms you into someone who can actually love in a healthier way, because you're no longer expecting another person to carry all your emotional weight. You're already carrying yourself. Here's the paradox: when you don't need anyone to complete you, you actually have more love to give. Why? Because that love doesn't come from emptiness. It comes from fullness. You're not clinging out of fear. You're choosing out of strength. So don't fear building emotional independence during your single season. It may feel lonely at times, but it's the kind of loneliness that trains you, sharpens you, and ultimately sets you free. That is the ninth truth. Staying single allows you to cultivate emotional independence. And once you've experienced that kind of freedom, you'll never again settle for love that demands you sacrifice your peace. 10th, you become whole before sharing yourself. The biggest lie we are taught from a young age is this: you need another person to complete you. Movies, songs, even conversations with family all reinforce this idea. They tell us we're only whole when we find our other half. It sounds romantic, but it is one of the most dangerous beliefs you can carry. The moment you believe you're incomplete, you spend your life chasing someone to fill that gap, instead of learning how to stand fully complete on your own. When you're single, you get the chance to break free from that lie. You learn that you are already enough. You don't need someone to validate your worth. You don't need someone to give you an identity. You don't need someone to make your life meaningful. You are whole as you are right now. And the moment you truly embrace that truth, everything changes. Imagine how different your relationships become when you already feel complete. You no longer enter them out of desperation or need. You enter relationships from a place of choice, not from a place of lack. You give your love freely because it already exists within you. You don't compromise your values or your peace to keep someone close. Instead, you share your life with someone as a bonus, not as a necessity. This changes everything. Your connections become healthier, more genuine, more aligned with who you truly are. When you're whole on your own, you stop chasing people who don't match your energy or your standards. You stop tolerating behavior that drains you or situations that pull you away from your purpose. You start noticing patterns that you would have ignored in the past because your self-worth no longer depends on being liked or loved. You begin to see people clearly: the ones who add bar value, the ones who respect your boundaries, and the ones who elevate your life instead of weighing it down. And here's the truth: being whole doesn't isolate you. It attracts the right people naturally. You become magnetic, not because you need someone, but because you have something to offer that comes from stability, confidence, and self-respect. Others sense it. They feel your strength, your clarity, your peace. They're drawn to it. And the relationships that form are built on mutual respect, not fear or need. So don't rush to find love out of loneliness. Don't settle for anything less than what aligns with your values and your purpose. Stay single long enough to become whole, to master yourself emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Because the moment you share your life from that place of wholeness, you don't just love someone else, you elevate both yourself and them. That is the 10th truth. Staying single allows you to become whole before sharing yourself, and that wholeness transforms the quality of every connection you will ever have. You gain clarity about what truly matters. When you're single, the noise of other people's expectations, demands, and drama fades away. You start to notice the things in life that actually light you up, the goals that excite you, the values that guide you, the relationships that bring genuine connection. Without someone else's priorities constantly interfering, your vision for your life becomes sharper. You learn to distinguish between what is urgent and what is important. You stop wasting time on distractions, on people who don't align with your energy, and on habits that don't serve your growth. Single life teaches you to listen to your own instincts, to trust your own judgment, and to honor your own standards. That clarity becomes a compass, guiding every choice you make, not just in love, but in career, friendships, and personal growth. And here's the beauty. Once you develop this clarity, it carries over into every relationship you enter in the future. You no longer get swept away by superficial charm, flattery, or temporary excitement. You know what you want, you know who you are, and that makes it impossible to settle for less than what aligns with your life's purpose. Being single gives you space to reflect, to plan, and to prioritize your own growth above all else. You start living with intention rather than reaction, and when you finally decide to share your life with someone, it's not because you need them to complete you, it's because your life is already full, and you're choosing someone who complements that fullness. That is the 11th truth. Staying single gives you the clarity to see what truly matters, to set high standards, and to build a life that isn't defined by others but by your own purpose and vision. You cultivate patience and long-term vision. When you're single, you're not rushing to fill a void or satisfy a temporary need. Instead, you learn to wait intentionally, wisely, and without desperation. You discover that some of the best things in life take time to grow: your skills, your health, your mind, and even the relationships that truly matter. Being single teaches you to respect your own timeline. You stop comparing yourself to others who seem to have it all figured out. You stop feeling pressured to hit arbitrary milestones just because someone else has. Every decision becomes deliberate. You invest in things that compound over time, learning, building, planning, rather than chasing immediate gratification or short-lived approval. And here's the paradox. Patience makes you unstoppable. When you finally choose to love, you do it with clarity, intention, and wisdom. You're not drawn in by fleeting emotions or surface-level attraction. You invest only in what resonates with your purpose and your growth. That patience becomes a filter that protects your time, energy, and heart from people or situations that aren't worthy of them. Single life forces you to play the long game. It teaches you to delay short-term comfort in favor of lasting fulfillment. And the more you embrace that mindset, the more unstoppable you become, not just in relationships, but in every area of your life. That is the 12th truth. Staying single helps you cultivate patience and a long-term vision, allowing you to make decisions that align with your purpose rather than with fleeting emotions or external pressure. You strengthen your sense of self-worth. When you're single, you're forced to confront a question most people avoid: am I enough on my own? At first, it can feel uncomfortable because society constantly tells us that our value comes from being attached, from being wanted, from being chosen. But being single gives you the space to answer that question honestly and to realize that yes, you are more than enough exactly as you are. You learn that your worth isn't measured by likes, attention, or romantic validation. You start to see your talents, your resilience, your creativity, and your integrity as inherently valuable. The more time you spend alone, fully present with yourself, the more you internalize that truth. No one else's opinion can shake it, no relationship can inflate it artificially, and no rejection can diminish it. You become anchored in your own value. And here's the paradox. When you recognize your worth internally, your external relationships naturally improve. You stop tolerating disrespect, neglect, or half-hearted love because you know you deserve more. You stop bending to fit into someone else's world because you understand that your world is already complete. The confidence that comes from knowing your own value is magnetic. People are drawn to it, not because you're trying to impress them, but because they sense a steady strength that doesn't need validation. Being single also teaches you to defend your boundaries without guilt. You no longer allow people to take what isn't freely offered or manipulate you into giving more than you're willing to give. You learn to say no without fear, to protect your energy, and to honor the standards that reflect your worth. Over time, this forms an unshakable self-respect that no relationship can erode. That is the 13th truth. Staying single strengthens your sense of self-worth, teaches you to honor your own value, and builds the kind of confidence that makes every future connection healthier, more balanced, and deeply fulfilling. You develop mental clarity and emotional calm. When you're single, life gives you the rare opportunity to think without interference, to feel without distraction, and to process your experiences on your own terms. In relationships, even the healthiest ones, your mind often has to split focus, balancing your needs with someone else's, interpreting moods, managing expectations, and navigating emotional dynamics. All of that noise can cloud your judgment, blur your priorities, and drain your energy. When you're single, that noise disappears. You get to sit with your thoughts, observe your feelings, and make decisions based solely on what aligns with your values and your goals. You notice patterns in your thinking, you identify habits that hold you back, and you begin to correct them intentionally. Emotional reactions become less reactive and more deliberate because you have the space to practice awareness, reflection, and self-regulation. The Stoics emphasize this kind of inner calm. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Singleness gives you discover true resilience in challenges. When you're single, life doesn't come with someone else to catch you when things go wrong. Every setback, every disappointment, every moment of frustration falls squarely on your shoulders. At first it can feel overwhelming, even unfair, but over time that very pressure becomes the forge in which your resilience is built. Being single forces you to face life head-on without relying on anyone else to fix your problems or soothe your fears. You learn how to bounce back from failure, how to stand tall after disappointment, and how to adapt when plans don't go your way. You develop the ability to keep moving forward even when circumstances feel impossible, because you know that the only person who can change your situation is you. The Stoics taught the same principle. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Singleness gives you the perfect environment to practice this lesson. Without external distractions, you cultivate the habit of responding instead of reacting, solving problems instead of complaining, and growing stronger with each challenge. Here's the hidden advantage. Resilience doesn't just make you stronger, it makes you magnetic. People are drawn to someone who remains composed, under pressure, who doesn't crumble when life gets tough, and who can carry themselves with unwavering strength. That kind of resilience forged in solitude naturally commands respect, admiration, and even love, but now it comes to you because of your strength, not because of need. And in relationships, resilience changes everything. You no longer tolerate chaos, drama, or constant instability because you know your own power. You can handle difficult situations with grace, communicate calmly under pressure, and maintain your sense of self no matter what happens. You become a partner, not a dependent, someone who contributes stability, not emotional weight. You cultivate deep self-awareness. Being single gives you the rare opportunity to observe yourself without distraction. When you're not constantly adjusting to someone else's moods, expectations, or desires, you can finally see who you truly are, your strengths, your weaknesses, your values, and your passions. You notice patterns in your thoughts, habits in your behavior, and motivations behind your choices that often go unnoticed in the noise of a relationship. Self-awareness is the foundation of personal growth. It allows you to understand why you react a certain way, what triggers your stress, and what genuinely brings you fulfillment. Without this awareness, it's easy to live unconsciously, repeating old habits, making the same mistakes, or chasing things that don't actually serve your purpose. But when you're single, you have the space to reflect, to journal, to meditate, and to truly explore your inner world. You begin asking questions like, what do I want my life to look like? What values am I unwilling to compromise? What kind of person do I aspire to be? The Stoics emphasized the power of self-reflection. Seneca wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Singleness is a perfect moment to reset, to examine yourself, and to rebuild consciously. You start making choices that align with your deeper principles rather than reacting to surface desires or external pressures." Here's the hidden benefit. Self-awareness transforms your future relationships. When you understand yourself deeply, you recognize what aligns with your life and what doesn't. You stop attracting people who drain your energy or distract you from your purpose. You can set boundaries confidently because you know what you need. You can communicate your desires clearly because you've taken the time to understand them first. And the beauty of it is this: self-awareness doesn't just improve your relationships, it improves every area of your life. Your career choices, friendships, and personal goals all benefit from the clarity that comes when you truly understand yourself. You stop wandering aimlessly and start living intentionally. You strengthen your boundaries and learn to protect your space. One of the most overlooked benefits of being single is the opportunity to truly define what you will and will not accept in your life. Without the constant influence of a partner, you can examine what behaviors, attitudes, and patterns drain you, and then set firm limits to preserve your energy, focus, and peace of mind. Boundaries are essential for personal growth, yet many people only realize their importance after repeated disappointment in relationships. Being single allows you to practice this skill proactively. You learn to say no without guilt, to remove toxic influences from your life, and to honor your own priorities above pleasing others. You begin to recognize that your time, energy, and attention are sacred resources that deserve protection. The Stoics taught the value of personal integrity and self-respect. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." When you are single, you can align your life with this principle. You decide what is acceptable for your life and refuse to compromise on your core values. You stop bending under social pressure, manipulative behaviors, or emotional manipulation because you've practiced standing alone and trusting your judgment. Here's the hidden advantage. Strong boundaries naturally attract people who respect them. When you know your worth and communicate your limits clearly, you no longer attract individuals who are incompatible, disrespectful, or draining. Your relationships, when they do come, become healthier, more balanced, and mutually empowering. You create connections based on choice and alignment, not fear or desperation. Boundaries also bring a sense of inner peace. When you protect your space, you reduce stress, eliminate unnecessary conflict, and gain the mental clarity to focus on your purpose. You start prioritizing what truly matters, your goals, growth, and happiness, without the constant intrusion of distractions or obligations that don't serve your life. You don't cling to people just to avoid being alone. You don't bend yourself into shapes or compromise your essence to keep someone else happy. Instead, you choose from abundance, not from lack. You share yourself not because you're empty, but because you are overflowing. That is the healthiest form of love, the kind that is a gift, not a transaction. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself in your way of thinking. Happiness isn't about finding someone to complete you. True happiness comes from realizing you were never broken in the first place. Staying single gives you the time and space to discover that truth. Of course, this journey requires work. You'll face your insecurities. You'll confront the parts of yourself you've tried to hide. But if you persevere, if you commit to the inner work, you'll emerge on the other side with something unshakable, a sense of wholeness that no breakup can take, no rejection can shatter, and no absence can destroy. And here's the paradox: when you finally feel whole on your own, that is when you are truly ready to share yourself, Not because you need someone to fix you, but because you want to walk alongside them as an equal. You can love deeply without fear. You can let people in without losing yourself. You can give freely without secretly expecting something in return. That is real strength. So don't rush into relationships just to feel complete. Use your single season to build wholeness. Heal your wounds, strengthen your weak spots. Explore the passions and values that define who you are. The more whole you become on your own, the richer, deeper, and more authentic everything else in your life becomes. That is the 10th and final truth. Staying single allows you to become whole before sharing yourself. And when you do finally share yourself, it won't come from emptiness. It will come from strength, freedom, and a love that cannot be shaken. Now, let's bring it all together. Staying single isn't a curse. It's not a failure. It's not something to be ashamed of. It is a season of power, a season of growth, a season where you reclaim your life and build yourself into someone unshakable. When you stay single, you avoid the wrong attachments that could weigh you down. You protect your time, the one resource you can never get back. You develop self-mastery without distractions. You safeguard your energy from toxic people. You learn to love your own company. You stop chasing validation. You grow stronger in solitude. You focus on your mission rather than pleasing others. You build emotional independence. And above all, you become whole before you ever share yourself with anyone else. That is not weakness. That is strength. That is freedom. That is real power. The Stoics believed the good life comes from mastering yourself, not from depending on others. And the truth is, once you learn to stand alone, you'll never again settle for relationships that diminish you. You'll only accept connections that elevate your life, not ones that take from it. So if you're single right now, don't rush to escape it. Don't see it as an empty gap to fill. See it as a rare gift, a chance to become the strongest, clearest, most authentic version of yourself. The person who can stand alone without fear is the person who can stand anywhere, with anyone, and never lose themselves. Now it's your turn. Ask yourself tonight, am I running from solitude or am I growing inside it? That single question could change everything. If this message resonates with you, subscribe now, because this journey doesn't end here. We're building a space where strength, freedom, and self-mastery come first, and I want you to walk it with me. Remember this, you are not half of anything. You are whole. Protect that truth, live by it, and never let the world convince you otherwise.